Hi, welcome to Sumery P. Today I've got a moist spelt chocolate cupcake, but two ways. I was super curious to see if I could make one recipe, but with a few different options. And I've done it. I've got a vegan version and a regular version, but both with spelt flour. And I've also made them before with regular flour. So if you'd like to see how I make my moist spelt chocolate cupcakes, but two ways, come with me and let's see. So step one for the spelt chocolate cupcakes today, we need to turn the oven on to 170 degrees C, and I've got a fan forced oven, and grab your muffin tray and line it with paper cases, or you can grease it with some butter. And this method was inspired by a recipe in my Hummingbird bakery cookbook. This is a London cupcake brand, and I love the way they do their method. It's so different and so easy from so many other cake recipes. So all we do is we throw the sugar into the bowl. So that's 250 grams or 1 cup, and we add in 70 grams of butter. That's unsalted butter. And then we have in here, we've got some white spelt flour, 170 grams. But if spelt flour is not your thing, this will work fine just with regular flour. And into that, I'm putting 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a pinch of salt. And in here, I've got some cocoa powder. And we want to sift all that together just so there's no lumps and so they're light and fluffy. And I just popped in 50 grams of cocoa powder, which is about 1/3 of a cup. So just quickly sift all that. You can sift it directly into your mixing bowl if you like, but I always make a mess, so just do it like this first. And then to help it along, I just grab my whisk. And the other thing you could do, if you don't have a sifter, you can just whisk all these ingredients together, and that will ensure that there's no lumps and they're light and fluffy. So I'll throw all that into our mixer. And if you don't have a stand mixer, you can do this with a handheld electric beater. So we just mix that together until it looks like breadcrumbs and all the butter is all in small pieces. So then into this jug, I've got 210 mils of oat milk, but you can use regular milk. And I'm just going to crack in 2 eggs. So these are 2 large eggs. And I'll just grab a small whisk just to whisk those around, just to beat them up a little bit. So then I pour half of this in and mix it on slow. And you can add a little bit of vanilla if you like, you can add choc chips, but I just wanted to show you a super easy way to make chocolate cupcakes. So now we pour in the rest of this liquid. We just put it on slow to combine everything. I'm just going to stop and scrape. We'll do a stop and scrape dance, stop and scrape, stop and scrape. And with these bowls, you need to make sure you get all of the batter from the bottom, because it can kind of get stuck sometimes. So just scrape off my spatula. Now the next step is we want to whisk it on high for a few minutes, just so it's all really smooth. And I think that's good. Now I like to use not the really mini cupcake papers, but the muffin ones, so they're a little bit bigger. And we don't want to overfill these. We don't want little muffin tops on top of our cupcakes. We want them so they're like half full. So it makes it roughly about 12 to 16. So just grab a scoop out. So I'm just grabbing some paper towel and just making sure that all the edges are cleaned before I pop it in the oven. Now we're going to bake this for about 20 to 22 minutes. We just want to make sure that they're light and springy when they're cooked. So our first tray of cupcakes is out, and they're all baked and they're nice and springy. They're a little bit more domed than what they probably should be, but we can frost those and cover them up. And the next version I'm going to do is a vegan version, also with white spelt flour, but this time I'm going to use coconut sugar. I've been experimenting with a little bit of coconut sugar, so I'm going to use 250 grams of coconut sugar, and then we're going to sift in the same quantity of flour. So we've got 170 grams of flour, and we've got 50 grams of cocoa powder. We'll do a pinch of salt and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And this is just to show you how I can use the same recipe but do 2 different ways. And I made a batch of these yesterday just with regular flour for a friend and just with regular sugar. But today I thought I'd show you how to do it with coconut sugar. Into that we're going to add 70 grams of flora, which is non-dairy butter. And if you didn't want to use that, you could also swap it out for sunflower oil or coconut oil, but you'd need to add it with the milk. So we'll just get this all whisking up. And then I've got 210 grams or 210 mils of milk, the oat milk again. To make it vegan, I always use flax eggs, which is 1 tablespoon of ground flax seed mixed with 3 tablespoons of water. And I just sit it in the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then it goes all nice and gluey. So I'm just going to add that into my milk. And when it's baked, you can't even tell that it hasn't got any eggs. Just make sure there's no large lumps of butter. And then we just mix in half of this and then do another half. And I'll just slowly stir the rest of it in. Now, because I've used the flax egg, the mixture is a little bit thicker than my other mixture. I'm just going to whip that up high. Stop that to scrape it. So do our stop and scrape, stop and scrape. I need to reuse this tray, so I'm going to transfer the cupcakes now they've cooled down a little bit. So now it's time to scoop into our muffin tray. You can see that this mixture is a lot thicker. Okay, I've got a little bit of I've got a little bit of chocolate mix left over, but I'm going to pop the tray in the oven now for 20 minutes. So it's the next day, all the cupcakes are cooked and cooled, and you can see here, these are the regular cupcakes and these are the vegan ones here. The vegan ones are a little bit lower. I think I was a little bit less generous with my serving. So now I'm going to show you 2 frostings, one for our regular cupcakes and one for the vegan cupcakes. So the first one we'll do is for the vegan cupcakes. So in this bowl, I've sifted 150 grams of icing sugar. And then I'm just going to sift in some cocoa powder. I want to make it quite chocolatey. Last time I made them, they were quite a pale chocolate. So I've doubled my quantity of cocoa powder, so that's 40 grams. And this is just a buttercream, but I'm going to use my Flora non-dairy butter. But if you wanted to use real butter, you can. And then into that, I've got some of the Flora. So there's 50 grams. I'm going to pop that in. And let's just get that all whipped up first on the stand mixer. Or you can use a handheld electric beater. Quite like this one because it's a deeper bowl and then my icing sugar doesn't go everywhere. Okay, now we can slowly add some milk. I'm using oat milk, so it's 20 mils. So it's roughly about 1 to 2 tablespoons. And you just gauge with your eye. If you need it a little bit more, you just add a little bit more. And the good thing about like this buttercream frosting, it lasts in the fridge chilled for about a week. So you can just ice them as you need them if you prefer to pop the cupcakes in the freezer. Okay, I've got a really rich chocolate today. What I like to do, I'm going to transfer it into this plastic container. So then if I don't use it all, I can pop it in the fridge. Now you can pipe them, but I never really like fussing with a piping bag because I find that it's just something else to wash up. So I always do it with a spatula. And if you find that once you've put the frosting in the fridge, it goes a little bit hard, you can just soften it again with some, a little bit more milk. So let's grab these ones forward. So what I'll do, I'm going to take all the ones that look great and ice them. So we'll ice maybe 6 and we'll have 6 unfrosted. And then I just do a really simple way. I just grab my palette knife and just spread it over the top. Creates like a rustic kind of icing. My papers don't want to stir my cupcakes. Actually, I'm going to just add a tiny little bit of milk. It's gone a little bit hard. So let me just mix that through a little bit. I think that's enough icing for them. So this I can store in the fridge. And then just to the top, I'm going to add some chocolate. And as I said, if you wanted a smoother icing, just add a little bit more milk. So there's my vegan ones. Don't they look pretty? Next ones we're going to do are the regular ones. So once again, I'm going to leave 6 aside and I can pop them into the freezer. So for the regular ones, I'm going to do coconut icing. So I've got 150 grams of icing sugar. So I've just got 50 grams of butter. And because my bowl's dirty, I'm going to use my electric beaters. So let's whip this up. Okay, now I'm going to put in 20 mils of coconut milk. So it's just from a tinned coconut can. So we're going to pop that in. Grab some of that icing sugar from the side, just scrape it down. So I may have added too much coconut milk. This one's quite runny, so to rectify that, what I'll do is I'll add a little bit more icing sugar. So let me add about 1/4 cup. Let me just move those beaters. So now we're up to icing the coconut ones. So these are our regular ones. So I've just smoothed it over. It's a lot, smoother icing, and then I'm just popping some desiccated coconut on top. So it's like a little snow-capped mountain. And this texture is a lot smoother, so I'm just doing a fine edge of it and leaving like a border. And I just love using a spatula because it's quick and easy. And it's something that you could do it with your children, and you could even do this, pop it upside down and dip it in. So I've got some leftover coconut frosting, so I'm going to store that in the fridge so then I can pop it on my leftover ones. So I think I'm going to cut them in half. So this is my chocolatey one, chocolate cupcake or vegan cupcake with chocolate icing. It's light and moist. The icing's quite intense, so if you didn't want it so chocolatey, drop back on the cocoa powder. But that's delicious. The regular one with the coconut icing. I love the contrast of the coconut icing against the chocolate. Moist and light. This is a great recipe that you can just mix and match, make it vegan, make it non-vegan, swap out the sugars, and it's so simple and easy, and you only need cocoa powder, not even real chocolate. So if you liked my video today, hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here today, and I'll pop a few links up above for a few other ideas on some things that you might like to bake. And I'll see you next time. Bye. I'm going to go away and finish this with a cup of tea. Yum.